Hi, and welcome to Hull & Hull TV. I'm Dana O'Brien, and I'm joined by founding partner Ian Hull and managing partner Susanna Popovic-Montag at Hull & Hull LLP, an innovative law firm that practices exclusively in estate, trust, and capacity litigation. Here at Hull & Hull TV, we're exploring the issues around estate planning that affect you. Ian and Susanna, according to Statistics Canada, Canadians are generous people, donating an average of $8 billion a year to charities. Susanna, what do the latest figures tell us about who is giving and why?
Well, we actually are being told that 84% of Canadians over the age of 15 are making a contribution to either nonprofit or charitable organizations. And why they do that is very particular to the individual, of course. They may have a particular passion for something or a compassion for someone or some organization. They may want to just do good for goodness sakes and provide for the greater good of the community. It's really quite particularized to the individual as to why they're making those contributions, but they certainly are.
What about the size of donations, Ian? Is that changing?
Well, first of all, I don't think the data is clear that charitable giving since probably 2007 has sort of leveled off on an annual basis. It's hitting in the same range. The interesting thing with the Canadian experience is, of course, ties to our demographic in some ways, but also ties to our economy for sure in terms of giving. But the average person gives about $500 a year. So that number is sort of part and parcel of the annual givings. The other part of it, though, is, of course, that as with much of inherited wealth is the same. I mean, you've got 25% of the donors give 85% of the money. So any of the large giving, it tends to be very concentrated.
So donations go up and down with the economy, but is charitable giving through an estate plan a trend, do you think? Is this something we're going to see more of?
Well, I really do find it is something that is top of mind and one of the triggers to come see me when I'm doing estate planning work, because as you get older, the individuals start to think in terms of, well, if I've accumulated this much, it maybe would be nice to identify some charitable giving. I will typically tell my clients, though, when they come to see me in regards of charitable giving, to think about the amount and express amount. Because if you give part of your residue, you give a substantial part or a modest part, whatever percentage of your residue, then the charity ties into the business model of the estate planning, and they become definitely involved in, well, what is 20% of the residue? And they start to be able to have a vote on what expenses come in and what expenses don't come in and so forth. So I often will tell my clients, pick a number that's a safe number, and identify it to represent what you'd like to give to your charity, as opposed to getting them into the business of the administration.
And Susanna, what's your advice to clients in terms of how to go about giving to charity?
Well, there's really two ways of doing it, I think, and maybe more, but the easiest, of course, is simply making an outright gift during your lifetime so that you can see the good that you're doing, in a sense, or you can do it by way of a testamentary document. In your will, you can make provision for it, as Ian says, either as a fixed amount or as a portion of your estate. There's also some, more sophisticated means by which you can give to charity, and many times that'll depend on how much is involved. And something like a charitable foundation, for instance, can be formed in order to make these kinds of gifts and continue the legacy. Or a charitable remainder trust is also another alternative that we're seeing people use as well.
What about tax benefits and implications? Yeah.
Well, that is the driving force behind most charitable giving through estate planning, and it can be complex. So I sort of look at some low-hanging fruit elements of the tax planning that I tell my clients, and I want them to go get good advice from an accountant who has got the most current circumstances. But there's, federal and provincial credits that can be applied, because unused credits can get carried forward for 5 years. Charitable donations through your will can be claimed in your final tax return. So it helps bring down your income for that year. And there are also, again, unused tax credits that can be applied after death as well. So you have a variety of tax options that can come into play at death, and of course you have options pre-death as well.
So a variety of reasons to give. Ian and Susanna, thank you. And thanks for joining us on Hull & Hull TV.
Thank you.